I want to start this video off by saying the reason why your dropshipping store is not converting is not due to your product page, your ad creatives, or your logo. Contrary to what everyone on YouTube says, these are not the reasons why your store can't convert and get sales. Instead, it's going to come down to two main things, and that's your product's offer and the product itself. The craft of selling anything online comes down to this very simple equation. The value needs to exceed the cost. Now, what does this really mean? Basically, you need to build enough value in whatever you're selling to the point that it exceeds the cost that you are selling it for. If you're able to walk this fine line, you'll make a shit ton of money online. And in this video, I'm going to show you exactly how to do that. Now, let me break down this whole value exceeding cost equation. And a customer needs to see the value in what you're selling, which is your product. And that needs to supersede the cost of your product, which comes down to your product's offer and how you market that. I'm first going to go over how I improved basically our already amazing offer, and then I'll go over the criteria that both my students and myself use to qualify a product before we begin testing it. Now, this is a live example of a student of mine where I took his conversion rate from roughly 4 to 5%, which stayed pretty consistent from when we first launched the product, and increased that to over 10% as we scaled, and even at one point it was 16%. Now, if you're remotely familiar with the whole e-commerce space, you know that a 10% conversion rate is simply not heard of, especially as you start to scale. Now, having these metrics is kind of like finding the promised land. So I'm going to show you right here a screenshot of one of my students before we tested this new value exceeding cost equation. And what you're going to see right here is his total sales. This is on a $50 a day budget. So already he's already at a 3x ROAS. And these are very strong metrics just standing on its own. So his sales are 152. A total of 9 orders, and his conversion rate, as you can see, is 5.23%. Again, 4 to 5% in the online space is already very high. And then what I'm about to talk about in a little bit is just insane to get over a 10% conversion. Now, after we tested what I'm about to go through, his total sales were almost $400, 24 orders, and that was 10% conversion. Now, I believe we had increased the budget to $100, so this is really a 3x or 3.9 ROAS compared to the 50. The ROAS stayed the exact same, just the ad spend increased as we were scaling. So what did I have my student do to achieve this insane 10% conversion rate? Super simple. I had him bundle a free complimentary product with his main product, which essentially added fuel onto the fire. Because at this stage, we already tested this product and it had a very clear proof of concept. Now it just came to, down to optimizing, and that's what 90% of dropshipping is. It's first finding that proof of concept and then optimizing on that. Now, a 4 to 5% conversion rate is already, as I mentioned, very, very strong. The industry average is somewhere between 1 to 2%. 3% is on the super high end. Now, to also take into account, we're testing and we're selling a low ticket product. Obviously, if you're selling a product that's $20 compared to, for example, $100, the conversion rate will be a little bit different. But generally speaking, the industry average is 1 to 2%. Now, by adding the complementary product, this directly correlates to the whole value exceeding cost framework, because the customer already clearly valued not only the product to begin with, because that's what took them from scrolling on Facebook to his store, but they then see an extra product that they weren't expecting, which plays on the customer's whole buying psychology. Doing this only works if you already have a proof of concept with the product. This simply will not work if your product is shitty to begin with. So you have to have a clear proof of concept, and then you optimize with the basically the complimentary free product. So with that being said, here's the exact criteria that I use to qualify both myself and my students' products before we begin spending money on testing that product. Now, I want to give a quick student update and kind of just go over where this student currently is at. We actually boosted his average order value, which is the AOV, by almost $11, which is just pure insanity. What you'll notice is that the CVR went back down to 6 to 7%, which in this case is completely fine because making an additional $11 per order in pure profit on average, and also having a 3.7 times ROAS is just nuts. So I would much rather have the conversion rate drop by, to 6 to 7 from 10, but he's getting $11 per order in pure profit on average. Now, this $11 AOV increase came from a $4 product pricing increase. If you're wondering how the hell did this happen and how this even makes sense, there's a pretty long explanation, and I will make a video explaining this. I just don't want to detract from this video, so I literally never say this, but click the subscribe button. And I know I'm going to sound like every other YouTube person, but click the subscribe button because you will not want to miss the video of me explaining how a $4 price increase equaled an $11 AOV increase. Like, I will literally go through everything in that video. But right here, you're going to see the screenshot, and the day wasn't even over. I want to say he finished at $1,100 this day, but the AOV was insane. Conversion rate, again, is insane, and that was his total sales. Now, I do want to throw this out there. If you want to be mentored by me one-on-one and achieve kind of similar results, if not better to what we kind of just went through, schedule a call with myself where I will go over how I can help you, and if I think we'd be a good fit, we will start working together. You can click the link in the description or in the pinned comment. But back to the actual video, the winning product criteria that I use, this is going to be as followed. Now, the most important thing is setting yourself up, your future self up for success by starting out with the right product. Before you can test product pricing or increase your AOV, two things need to be established first. You need a clear proof of concept with your product and a clear customer buying intent. So these are the three main product criteria that I use to qualify not only my own products before we test them, but also my students. The first thing is your product in a passionate niche? This is super important because, to make sure your product checks off on. And the reason being is by your product fitting into this category, it already increases not only the buying intent, but also the value of your product. For example, if you're testing a product, especially I would say in like the beauty and healthcare niche, the buying intention is so high because the person wants that product because it's going to increase the way they look, it's going to make them look better, feel better, whatever the case is. And by having that buying intention and the kind of result of the product, that is what increases not only the buying intention, but also the value of the product. That's why passionate niche is so important to have for a product. Now, the second thing is the product needs to have a high upsell potential. Now, this here is pretty self-explanatory, but the product either needs to be a product that makes sense to buy more than one of or is easily gifted. Or, one last thing, it needs to be a product that has a clear complementary product that can be sold alongside it, similar to what I did with my student that we just talked about with the free complimentary product. Now, by having your product check this box, it's going to make you 10 times, if not more, profitable, and it makes it a lot easier to scale. Do this from the start because your future self will literally love you for doing this. It makes everything 10 times easier. Now, the third main product criteria that I use is the ad creative content. And, I'll let you know, I do not film any of my content, and neither do my students initially when we're testing a product. However, there are two main ways to find content for your product. You can either find it online, or you can reach out to people in your niche that can film content for your product. So for example, if you're in the health and beauty care niche, you want to find your ideal looking influencer, and even on Fiverr you can find people that look like your ideal customer and have them film content of them using your product. Now, the main reason why this criteria is so important is your ad creative will either make or break your entire selling funnel. This is the very first step in a customer buying process with your store. If your ad creative is not crafted in a way that compels a customer to click off of social media, doom scrolling or whatever they're doing, and onto your website, you won't make any money. Also, if there's a ton of good content out there for your product, it doesn't mean that the product is saturated. All this means is there's a clear proof of concept that people are buying said product. Your job is to make better ads, a better product page, and most importantly, a better selling offer than your competition. To kind of give a personal example of this in my experience, I scaled one of my stores to over $500,000 with one product. And that was quote unquote a saturated product by every metric that people on YouTube would tell you. But there were two main things that I did differently to outperform my competition. Number one, my ad creatives were way better than that other person. And he was running mainly picture ads, so that already was like the first easy, like low hanging fruit. All I had to do was make a compelling video ad and I'm already beating the picture ad. Whereas, my ads, again, as I mentioned, were UGC video ads, and that's user generated content. And the second thing is my selling offer was way better than his. And as a result, I scaled the store, as I mentioned, to 500,000, and his ads became unprofitable because my store became so big. So I hope this video kind of helped with some of the kind of preconceived notions around why a store isn't performing. Again, it's not going to come down to your product page, your ad creatives, or your logo. It comes down to the product that you're selling and your offer. And that's really it. I mean, it's super simple. So again, if you want to be mentored by myself one-on-one, click the link in the description down below. We'll have a consultation call, and if I think you'd be a good fit to work together, we will hit the ground running and do exactly what we did for this student right here.